Happy Wednesday. Welcome to Wildcard Wednesday on the Michele Tafoya podcast. Glad to have you with me. Today we've got some phenomenal video, but we've saved the best for last. That's a tease, means you have to stick around to the end. Have you subscribed yet? Hit that subscribe button wherever you're listening, whether it's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever, YouTube, Rumble. Just click the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. There's some stuff going on with women's basketball players that we're going to talk about tomorrow. I hope you'll tune in for that one. It's gotten some attention lately. So please tune in. Just hit subscribe. That way you never miss an episode and it's free. All right. Wildcard Wednesday begins. And I'm going to begin with Democrat Senator Chris Murphy. This is a topic I am hot on every single day. Not only as someone who was an athlete, someone who covered athletes for the better part of my career, but now also as a mom of a boy and a girl. This topic is driving me nuts. Not really, because I think it's an absurdity that's actually going to end at some point. But here's how absurd it is. Roll it, Misty.
Don't have any fear of transgender athletes participating in sports, but
wait, just so you don't have any fear of it. Do you think it's if you had a daughter competing against a biological male, would you find it unfair?
I don't have girls, right? So I necessarily can't, right? I can't put myself in that position.
Have some empathy, right, for those of us who do, right? So would you find it unfair?
I mean, I've talked to lots of parents of girls in Connecticut who do not think it's unfair, and who think that the benefits that those athletes get from being part of a team is important, and they don't mind or feel threatened by the competition. I think everybody can come to their own conclusion, but your conclusion is the official line of liberalism right now. It's you're saying you don't. Yes, my conclusion is that I would support those athletes being able to participate in my community, right? In my community, but I would not substitute my judgment and my community's judgment for another community's judgment.
Oh my gosh. I'm sorry. What did you just say? What did you say, Senator Murphy of Connecticut? This is so Connecticut. And I'm sorry, because I know some really conservative people who live in Connecticut and are being driven crazy by the likes of Chris Murphy. But this is your senator. He doesn't feel threatened. He doesn't have girls, so he can't really say for sure how he'd feel if a male competed against his girls. Could we please acknowledge that this is happening all over the place? We see it online every single day. There was track in California recently where the person winning all the events, the thighs on this individual are twice the size. They are muscularly enormous relative to the girls he is beating. I'm not going to say she. I'm sorry, because it is a male. And I'm not going to say they, because they is a pronoun that refers to plural in my English language experience. So I'm sorry that you think that your pronouns are more important than the English language. I don't. Boys should not be competing in girls' sports. You notice that he says, I think they should compete and they get benefits from being part of a team. Fine. Be part of a team of your own biological sex. Period. The end. End of story. We're not saying that transgender athletes can't compete. We are saying compete in your own biological lane. That's it. Yes, it's great to be part of a team. Yes, you make friends. Yes, you compete, but not at the expense of girls. Girls and women who spent so much time fighting for girls to have fairness and have their own division. Why do we have two divisions if we're only going to let biological males compete against girls? It's stupid. It's absurd, Senator Murphy, and you look like a fool because you can't stand on any kind of solid ground with your arguments, which aren't really arguments. They're just a bunch of stuttering. You know better. You know better. Every politician knows better, but you're pandering. You're pandering. All right. Speaking of pandering, we spent years having the press pander to Joe Biden. Now, we can say Joe Biden was the president of the United States for 4 years, but was he? Was he really making the decisions? Now, we begin with a montage because Jake Tapper has come out with a book. He co-wrote it with someone from Axios, Alex Thomas, I believe it is, about the big lie that was told throughout Biden's presidency. No, see, here's the thing. You can say it was a lie. You can say Joe Scarborough and all of these people I'm about to show, Jake Tapper primarily, you can say that you were lied to by the White House. You didn't have the wherewithal to believe your eyes and what you were seeing in Joe Biden to push back and ask more questions. You didn't have the wherewithal to do that as a journalist. This is so hilarious. Trying to watch all these journalists say, we didn't know. We were lied to by Karine Jean-Pierre. We were lied to by the Biden White House. You saw it with your own eyes, just like the rest of us did, and you were afraid. You couldn't handle the thought of Joe Biden being beat or Kamala Harris being beat by Trump, that you just went along with the lies. You didn't investigate. You didn't push back. In fact, here's what you did, Jake Tapper. Roll it, Misty.
How do you think it makes little kids with stutters feel when they see you make a comment like that?
It's very clearly a cognitive decline.
Okay.
That's what I'm referring to. It makes me uncomfortable.
You have no. I can't. It's so amazing. It's so amazing to me that
try and figure out an answer.
A cognitive decline. President Biden embraces his stutter, talking about it, while Trump mocks it, exaggerates it, belittles it. He's sharp physically. I mean, mentally. Yeah. I think the question is physically, right?
Right.
More so?
Right.
Right. And the guy who's his chief opponent is only 3 or 4 years younger than him.
Exactly.
I mean, you have questioned President Biden's age, mental fitness, ability to lead. Of those supporting Biden, you said, quote, shame on all of you pretending everything is okay. You're leading us and him into a disaster. Do you worry that you damaged him at all? I don't doubt that you got hugs and handshakes behind closed doors today, and maybe even publicly, some of them because they like you personally. But I've heard a lot of really nasty stuff about you from your Democratic colleagues. Sure. I mean, just like, what is he thinking? Exercise in narcissism. I mean, false claims to the Wall Street Journal about President Biden's mental fitness and acuity. He's 81, and his memory, it doesn't seem great. It's not horrible, but I don't understand the outrage. Quote, behind closed doors, Biden shows signs of slipping, unquote. The Wall Street Journal is owned by News Corp, which is run by the Murdochs. Beyond the headline, there is some critical nuance here. The article is mostly based on observations of Republicans, with former Speaker Kevin McCarthy the only one going on the record. They do note in the article that most of the criticism comes from Republicans. Have you heard any concerns from anyone who has met with President Biden about him seeming a little slower?
No.
The Russians are trying to make us and the public not trust our election integrity. Joe Biden has dementia, all this stuff.
You see that at the end if you're watching on YouTube or Rumble, that the book that he is selling is called The Original Sin. Alex Thompson and Jake Tapper, The Original Sin. And it's a book about the Biden administration lying to him. Do you see all the opportunities he had there to acknowledge the truth? We ran that whole entire thing so you could see example after example after example of Jake Tapper defending Biden. That's what he was doing. He saw it. He was pushed on it. Everyone tried to tell him. He ignored it. He was complicit. Complicit. And now he's making money off of a book. I was lied to. I had the wool pulled over my eyes. Original Sin is the name of the book. I'll give you the whole title here because it's rich. Original Sin, President Biden's Decline, Its Cover-Up, and His Disastrous Choice to Run Again. Wait a minute, Jake. In 2024, you were saying it was just a stutter that people were making fun of. President Biden's Decline, Its Cover-Up, and His Disastrous Choice to Run Again. Original Sin. Tapper, you were so wrapped up in that cover-up, it's disgusting. You cannot ever convince me, and probably most of America, that you didn't see it and you weren't complicit in it. And the way that you treated Dean Phillips in that interview, who tried to warn the Democrat Party that we're in bad shape here because this man is in decline. Probably the best quote, however, the best moment in television defending Joe Biden in his peak decline, if we can call it that. Because now we're learning that, he didn't even recognize George Clooney at that fundraiser, which Obama walked him off the stage during. And Karine Jean-Pierre said, that's a deep fake. Good Lord. The fact that they think the public is so stupid. Sorry, I'm all over the place here, but let's run Joe Scarborough, who said that this is peak best Joe Biden. Roll it.
And F you if you can't handle the truth. This version of Biden, intellectually, analytically, is the best Biden ever. Not a close second. And I've known him for years. The Brzezinskis have known him for 50 years. If it weren't the truth, I wouldn't say it.
Okay. I don't know what your truth is there, Joe and Mika and Morning Joe, that this was the best version of Biden. And F you if you disagree with them, by the way. Joe Scarborough told you F you if you disagree. I mean, it is scandalous. It is scandalous. And now all the books. So you all knew and you all withheld your information and you withheld it so you could publish these books that would make you a lot of money. I say don't buy the books. I'm not buying the books. I saw it happen. I saw it happen in action. All right, so the Democrats are so flailing right now, having lost to Trump, and every single day that Trump has been in office, whether you agree with him, whether you like him or not, is almost irrelevant. Stuff's getting done. Every day, something's getting done. And if you can't see that, or if you just listen to Rachel Maddow and she tells you it's all authoritarianism, okay, I can't help you there. But stuff's getting done. The border is closed. But Democrats are flailing. And so I think that the extreme left of the party is the only portion of the party that's doing anything. And what they're doing is just pure, utter resistance. Let's look at this nonsense from this detention center, an ICE detention center in Newark, New Jersey, as if New Jersey didn't have enough problems. But here's an ICE detention center, and these Democrat politicians and some of their friends are doing this. So, okay, you can stop. I don't know how much you need to see of that. This is what they're doing. They're resisting ICE detentions. There's a video, and I hope we can roll it in at some point here in the editing process, of a woman who is running up to one of the buses that has these Venezuelan criminals on it that are being put into this ICE detention. She runs up to this bus. She's got a sign that says love. And she's blowing kisses to the bus. So she loves the criminals more than she loves you, America. If you're here and you're a citizen and you're hardworking and you're paying taxes and you're paying her salary, she's showing love to the criminals. So, that's where they are. They're defending trans in sports. No, let me rephrase that. They're defending trans women in girls' sports, and they're fighting for criminals. Okay. Meanwhile, Charlie Kirk's an interesting guy, and he's no small force for the conservative wing of whatever. For conservatives, I'll just say that. Charlie Kirk is no small force for conservatives. And what he's focused on doing is really interesting. Charlie Kirk goes to college campuses where we see so much of the leftism being practiced, and he challenges and engages with students there. Now, certainly not all students want Charlie Kirk on their campus, like this one.
We don't want Charlie Kirk on our campus. We don't want fascists on our campus. We don't want to support that here.
What is fascism? Immigration.
I don't know. I'm not like a political scientist. I'm not good at interviews. You should ask someone else.
That one I just had to throw in because she's so declarative that we don't want fascists on our campus, but she can't define what a fascist is or what fascism is. Because she doesn't know, because she's been fed the talking point to just say, we don't want fascists on our campus. Now, some people would just go with that quote and not press her, but the interviewer pressed her and she had no answer. That tells you a lot. Well, now let's give you a taste of what Charlie Kirk, in case you haven't seen these, what Charlie Kirk does. And I want to preface this by saying, in full transparency, I am a pro-choice conservative. Now, I don't believe in abortion up past the first trimester. That's just me. And again, I'll remind you that I had multiple procedures because I was pregnant and I lost the babies and they had to be taken. That's not an abortion. That's a fetus that's already died, that's lost the heartbeat, that's gone. And there you go. It was a very, very, very painful time of my life when my husband and I were trying to have children. We ultimately did have a son and adopt a daughter. Okay? That's out there. I still believe that women should have a choice to a certain point in their pregnancy if they don't want that pregnancy. However, other people feel differently. I have a lot of friends who are pro-life and believe that life starts at conception, and that's where you start protecting that life. Okay. So there are differences of opinion, and they're all across the spectrum. But this conversation between Charlie Kirk and this individual on campus, a student, and just wait till you hear what kind of student he is, what he's studying. This is a little terrifying. Go ahead and roll it, Misty.
So if I murdered you at 6 months, that's okay?
Yes.
There's a process where a zygote then becomes what you would call a fetus or a baby, and then it forms all the way in to an infant. Human development starts at a moment. We believe that the earliest moment of human development is worthy of protection. So I would ask you, when does human life begin?
Well, I mean, so if you're, what do you mean? Like, are you talking about like...
When did your life begin?
So my life, in what sense? Do you mean like, literally define life, like right now?
When did your life become worthy of protection?
In what sense? Are you talking about the metabolic...
I just did. And when did your life become worthy of protection?
When I became actually conscious and able to speak.
So like, able to speak, so like 2 years old.
I think I was a bit earlier than that, yeah.
No, babies usually don't speak till about year and a half. So if I murdered you at 6 months, that's okay?
Yes.
And you're a bio student at UC Riverside?
Yes.
Let me ask you a question. Would you save 100 dogs' lives or one human life?
So I would save one dog over your life, but...
No, tell me why a human... and we'll close with this. The fact that he's a bio student at this university shows the horrifying moral rot happening in higher education, and Trump should defund all these schools as evidence.
Moral rot. See, because morality and ethics are a part of life. Morality, knowing good from bad, right from wrong. Charlie Kirk poses the question, when is your life worthy of protection? And the guy said, when I could start talking. So at 6 months, if I murder you, that's okay? Yes. He's a biology major. Not Charlie Kirk, the student whom he's challenging. That's staggering, and quite frankly, I don't really believe that person meant anything he said. And I love how when he threw an insult at Charlie Kirk, I'd save one dog over you. Kirk didn't anger him. He knew who he was dealing with. He knew what he was dealing with. But these are the kinds of conversations that I think are so revealing about college students. Some of them, not all of them, not all of them. And you could hear the people in the background when he said at 6 months, I could, if I murder you, that's okay. And he said, yes. And the people kind of gasped. That whole exchange is wild to watch. I don't know any other way to describe it. Charlie Kirk maintains composure, relates facts, just says very clearly, I believe that life begins at a very early moment, and I think it's worthy of protection at that moment. That's Charlie Kirk's right to believe that. And he states it, and then he throws it out to the person he's engaged with. When do you think life is worthy of protection? When I can start to talk. Okay, so 2 years. That's when you're worthy of protection? When you start to talk? See, I don't believe that human being really meant what he said. But he said it. And he's representing a certain point of view that you see on campuses. And this is the United States of America. And you have to ask yourself, okay, so if that biology major truly believes what he said, and that is that an infant is not worthy of protection until it's old enough to speak. What does that say about his viewpoint of humans, humanity, morality, ethics? And is that what we want to support? And that's a public university, University of California, Riverside, part of the UC system that does receive public funding. I mean, I commend Charlie Kirk for this. He goes around to tons of universities in America and challenges students like this on a number of topics. And this is just one of them. And like I said, Charlie Kirk happens to be very pro-life from the moment of conception. I believe he thinks that's where life begins and it's worthy of protection. He's entitled to that belief, as are all pro-life people entitled to their belief. Some people have challenged me and they said, Michele, you're not really pro-choice. You're pro-life with exceptions. Okay, I'll buy that. But I know the language out there. And I know here in Minnesota, where I happen to reside for now, how people take the term pro-life. And even when I've told liberal friends, hey, I'm pro-choice, I believe in abortion up to a certain point in the pregnancy, they're like, no limits, no limits, no limits. You can't tell me what to do with my uterus. I just think that the conversation has so many layers, and but this particular moment between Charlie Kirk and that bio student is informative about either what's being taught or what's being believed, or is there moral rot in universities? I believe that there is. I don't believe it permeates all students. I don't. But that example is amazing. Okay. You know who also used to be a Democrat? And maybe he still is. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Now, he is currently the Secretary of Health and Human Services in the Trump administration, which shows you how wide-ranging this Trump administration is. And quite frankly, you've got Dr. Marty Makary, you've got Dr. Oz, and you've got Jay Bhattacharya, the econ and med professor out of Stanford, part of that group. It's a fascinating group, but they all believe in freedom in medicine. So on Monday, President Trump announced that what he was going to do with Medicare costs and medicine costs is make sure that the United States doesn't pay a dime more for medicine than any other country on the planet. So in other words, if you go to Canada and you can get your prescription for half the price that you can get it here, why is that? If you can go to France and get it for, a quarter of the amount that you can get it here in the United States, why is that? Why is it that Americans are paying more for prescriptions, for cancer drugs, for all kinds of things than they are outside of the United States? Why are we paying more? It's a great question. And the president on Monday said that's not going to happen anymore. The United States is going to be the most favored nation. We are going to pay no more than any other country is paying for these medications. To which RFK Jr. responded. Here it is.
I have a couple of kids who are Democrats, are big Bernie Sanders fans. And when I told them that this was going to happen, they had tears in their eyes, because they thought this is never going to happen in our lifetime. And we finally have a president who's willing to stand up for the American people. Thank you. And Dr. Oz.
So he's very out there with the fact that two of his kids are big Bernie Sanders supporters, but they are astonished by this move. And it does take spine. And see, that's what people overlook about this administration, that it has spine to say, you know what, Big Pharma, you have no influence over us. You can't buy us. No, we're going to make this demand on you. We want you to create great medicines. We want you to continue to do all of that. And yes, there are expenses that go into that, but why should the United States bear the brunt of those expenses when other countries don't? And one of the stories that was told, giving an example of this disparity in cost, the president gave in one of the funnier moments of his administration thus far, although there have been plenty of funny moments. He has wonderful comedic timing. Oh, if you hate him, I'm sorry to tell you that, but he does. And here's a story he told about Ozempic. Roll it.
I mean, I'll tell you a story. A friend of mine who's a businessman, very, very, very top guy. Most of you would have heard of him. A highly neurotic, brilliant businessman, seriously overweight, and he takes the fat shot drug. And he called me up and he said, President, he calls me, he used to call me Donald, now he calls me President, so that's nice respect. But he's a rough guy, smart guy, very successful, very rich. I wouldn't even know how we would know this, but because he's got comments. Said, President, could I ask you a question? What? I'm in London, and I just paid for this damn fat drug I take. I said, it's not working. He said, I just paid $88. And in New York, I pay $1,300. What the hell is going on?
This is what we're talking about. That you can go to London and get Ozempic or whatever fat shot drug he is taking, Wegovy, whatever it is, for $88. But in New York, it's $1,300. And that's about right. I have a friend who is on it, who lives in New York, and it is a massive expense for this friend. Massive. And I keep thinking, how is she affording this? But he can go to London and get it for $88. It might be worth the transportation, the flight to London. I mean, you could probably get an $800 flight, get your $88 drug. You're still paying less than you were paying in America. Why? And the reason given is that, say, the UK has the National Institute of Health. It's got its National Health Services, whatever it is. Its government pays the healthcare. And so there's no competition in the UK. You either sell it to their government or you don't. And they say, we're not paying $1 over $88 for your Ozempic or whatever your fat drug shot is. Fat shot drug. And that's what we're doing. So take it or leave it. And so they say, fine, well, we got to sell it. So they capitulate. The drug companies capitulate. Then they go to France and they meet with those people and they say, nope, we're not spending over, what is England? What is the UK spending? We're going to spend that. But here in the United States, they can sell it because there's a market for it for $1,300. Does that seem right? Does that seem fair? No, it's not. But Big Pharma has like 3 lobbyists per member of Congress. And so they're going to pressure and with, we're not going to support you. Whatever they're going to do. But the president is saying, screw that. Sorry, Big Pharma. You're going to treat us like you treat the rest of the world. So if you have to even out that expense across the globe, I'll also say this to the president's credit. He said there are some countries where they're in trouble and they need these drugs. The UK isn't one of them. let's say some countries in Africa or third world countries that need these drugs. He said, we're going to take care of them. We're going to help them. That's a good thing. And he's right. So for those of you that think he's completely void of compassion, you're wrong. But that was a seminal moment this week from the White House. The other thing I just want to say real quickly about the way he tells this story about Ozempic. I have this friend, he's fat, he's super smart, super rich, he's fat, neurotic. I have heard people say, oh my gosh, you can't even read the transcripts of President Trump. You can't. Try reading his transcript. It's so disjointed. It's grammatically incorrect. You know why? Because he just talks to people like ordinary people talk to one another. If you transcribed all of your conversations every day, you'd look just as inept grammatically. He talks like how people talk. And I think that really resonates with a lot of people. Obviously, it resonates with a lot of people. He got elected. The other thing he talked about was this bringing in these refugees from South Africa. Trump said there is a genocide going on in South Africa. I'll let Misty roll this tape and then we'll talk about it. Go ahead, Misty.
Because they're being killed, and we don't want to see people be killed. Now, South Africa leadership is coming to see me, I understand, sometime next week. And, we're supposed to have I guess a G20 meeting there or something, but we're having a G20 meeting. I don't know how we can go unless that situation's taken care of, but it's a genocide that's taking place that you people don't want to write about, but it's a terrible thing that's taking place, and farmers are being killed. They happen to be white, but whether they're white or black makes no difference to me, but white farmers are being brutally killed, and their land is being confiscated in South Africa. And the newspapers and the media, television media, doesn't even talk about it. If it were the other way around, they'd talk about it. That would be the only story they'd talk about. And I don't care who they are. I don't care about their race, their color. I don't care about their height, their weight. I don't care about anything. I just know that what's happening is terrible. I have people that live in South Africa. They say it's a terrible situation taking place. So we've essentially extended citizenship to those people to escape from that violence and come here.
So not everyone has taken him up on that, but 59 people were brought in. I believe that's the number so far that were brought in from South Africa to relocate to the United States for safer life. Now I can hear the screaming and yelling from around the Twitter sphere right now, the exosphere, whatever. Well, what about all the people in South America who are their lives are at risk and they're seeking amnesty as well? Why can't they come? Well, some of them do come. And if they have legitimate claims of amnesty, they are let into the country. We just had millions let in during the last 4 years under Joe Biden. A lot of those people don't have amnesty claims. So in this particular case, they do. Now, people are belittling this and they're saying, that's not happening. Just like they ignored the people in the Congo who were murdered recently. It's amazing the outrage that we have selective outrage in the media as to what we're going to cover and what we're not going to cover. But just to give you an example, I want to show you this clip. So this person is named Julius Malema or Malema. He is a South African politician. He's the founder and leader of the Economic Freedom Fighters, which is a communist political party known for their red berets and military-style outfits worn by its members. Malema is sometimes referred to as Juju. And this is him calling for genocide. Go ahead and roll it, Misty.
Must never be scared to kill. A revolution demands that at some point there must be killing, because the killing is part of a revolutionary act.
I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I'm saying to you, we have not called for the killing of white people, at least for now. I can't guarantee the future.
Yeah, but I mean, you'd understand somebody watching that, especially as it gets shared on Twitter, they freak out. It sounds like a genocidal call.
Cry babies. Cry babies.
I'm not calling for the slaughter of white people, at least for now.
I can't give you a guarantee of the future, especially when things are going the way they are.
Subtext.
Especially if things are going the way they are, There will be a revolution in this country, I can tell you now.
We are not calling for the slaughter of white people, at least for now. That means at some future date, we may call for the slaughter of white people. Is that correct?
Let's deal with that at that future date. I don't know what's going to happen.
So you're saying you are not ruling out that in the future you may very well call for the slaughter of white people?
It may not be me.
Could it be you?
It could be me, yes, but it may not be me.
Yeah, so it could be you. You could, at some future date, call for the slaughter of white people.
Shoot to kill the mother, kill the poor, the farmer, kill the poor, the farmer. Brr, pa, pa.
That's a lot of people. He's telling them, kill the boar, kill the farmer. I'm not calling for the genocide of white people for now. Maybe me, maybe someone else at a later date. Lots of caveats, but no denial that white farmers are being targeted. No denial. And there are plenty of reports of thousands of white farmers being murdered. Plenty of them. So President Trump offered amnesty to some of them, and some of them took him up on it. So, and some of them didn't. They say, hey, I'm staying in my country. And that's good too. But to suggest that this is wrong, that whites in South Africa are all racist, that they're all descendants of white supremacists on which the country was founded, can we never get away from this? I mean, you just saw a stadium full of people saying, shoot to kill, shoot the boar, shoot the farmer. Just ignore that? If it were the other way around, if that was a white man up there on that stage asking to shoot black Africans, this country would go insane. Okay, that's a lot, but let's leave you with the best video of the week. Last night, I watched this video a couple times, and I didn't realize that I did realize the impact it had on me, but I didn't really realize it till I went up to get ready for bed, and I realized that my eye makeup was all over my face because I had been crying. But anyone who watches this video, and you might want a tissue around, anyone who watches this, if you have a kid, you understand. If you have a sister, a brother, you understand. Idon Alexander, after some 594 days maybe in custody in Hamas, and you can look at his arms and see some of the damage that's been done in this video. But he was finally released, taken back, and reunited with his family. And this should put a smile on your face. Roll it, Misty. I'm so grateful they allowed the camera to record that. That is unbelievable. Unbelievable. I mean, how many nights they didn't sleep? How many nights they wondered if their kid was still alive? And the endurance of that. And then to see your child alive again. With that, I say be brave, do good, and tomorrow you'll see our bit on the WNBA stars who are saying that racism is responsible for marketing or lack thereof. We'll see you then. Hey, you can keep up with the Trump administration when you subscribe to the Trump Report. It's an email that brings you daily highlights from the Oval Office right to your inbox 5 days a week. Subscribe today at SalemPodcastNetwork.com/Trump.